Hello, welcome to the Curiosity Club. Today we're going to talk about a country, Argentina. When you hear about Argentina, what comes to mind? Soccer or beef, perhaps? Actually, its economic situation is also widely talked about globally. This is because Argentina has been experiencing high inflation at around 100% for several years. As of the CPI, Consumer Price Index, it stands at 113% in 2023 compared to the previous year. Furthermore, with the upcoming elections, there is a strong possibility that the far right may win, and many people believe this could make Argentina's situation even worse. Why is this happening? What's going on in Argentina? As the third largest economy in South America, behind Brazil and Mexico, Argentina has been grappling with economic crises, debt defaults, and soaring inflation for decades. However, in the past couple of years, the inflation index has reached astonishing levels. As of 2023, the annual inflation rate stands at 113.4%. Currently, only Venezuela and Lebanon are facing worse economic situations. Additionally, factors such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, worldwide high inflation, and the most severe drought in 60 years this year have further exacerbated Argentina's already fragile economy. To curb inflation, the Central Bank of Argentina raised the benchmark interest rate to 97% in June of this year. However, the impact has been minimal. Argentinians have long lost trust in the Argentine peso due to the persistent high inflation. As soon as people get paid in peso, they will rush to convert their pesos into US dollars. The exchange rate from pesos to dollars has plummeted to 3.50 by the end of September this year, while pesos used to have 1.1 exchange rate to dollars in history. The Argentine Central Bank's foreign exchange reserves have long been depleted. The current situation in Argentina is not something that has developed in the short term, but is rather the result of long-standing accumulations and stalemates. Looking back in history, Argentina, relying on its abundant natural resources, thrived in the early decades of the 20th century. Through the development of agriculture and foreign exports, it became one of the top 10 countries in terms of per capita income, surpassing countries like France and Italy at that time, and rivaling Canada and Australia. However, the global Great Depression from 1929 to 1932 caused Argentina's economy to contract by a quarter, and it began a long downward trajectory from there. Many people attribute the root of Argentina's current economic situation to the political economic strategy of one man, that is Juan Perón, and his Peronism. Juan Perón was elected as the president of Argentina in 1946, and during his tenure, he implemented policies favorable to the working class and marginalized groups, garnering strong support from the general population. He nationalized the central bank, railways, and other strategic industries, promoting nationalism. Most importantly, Perón advocated for extensive welfare spending and pursued economic isolationism and protectionism to shield domestic workers from foreign trade competition. Though Juan Perón's historical legacy is controversial, many Argentinians have deep feelings for him. Over the following decades, leaders who were influenced by Peronism, more or less, continued some of the previous political and economic strategies. Firstly, Argentina's economy has long been disconnected from global trade, leading to a yearly contraction in the country's export trade. In terms of mining, Argentina has abundant reserves of lithium and copper, similar to Chile, which is the world's largest copper exporter, but Argentina nearly export none copper. Secondly, the government has been inclined towards overspending on social welfare subsidies. For example, with government subsidies, the average Argentine pays only $5 per month for electricity, whereas the average European spends $40 per month on electricity, 8 times the cost for an Argentine. In 2022 alone, these subsidies accounted for 2% of Argentina's GDP. Rather than investing budget resources in sectors that could have a long-term positive impact on the economy, such as technology and infrastructure, the government has allocated a significant portion of spending directly to subsidies and cash transfers to the citizens. Since the economic crisis that began in 2018, Argentina has become a frequent guest at the International Monetary Fund, IMF, borrowing money but struggling to repay it, leading to a cycle of new loans to cover old ones, and the situation has only worsened. This ongoing crisis has also led to a rightward shift in the political views of the Argentine population. Argentina is set to hold presidential elections in October this year. In the primary elections in August, Javier Milei, a far-right libertarian economist often referred to as the Argentina's Trump, unexpectedly secured first place with 30.5% of the votes. This indicates that the long-lasting economic crisis has eroded confidence in the center-left political parties that have held power. Given current situation, Milei's most radical proposal is dollarization, which involves abolishing the central bank and the Argentine peso in favor of using the US dollar directly. While this strategy may seem extreme to others, it's not necessarily surprising to Argentinians. Many Argentinians have already been using the US dollar for daily transactions. Dollarizing would allow the public to avoid the hassle of constant currency exchange and the devaluation of their assets. A positive example of this strategy is Ecuador, which achieved relative economic stability after dollarization in 2000. However, many argue that Milei's so-called economic dollarization may not be a panacea for Argentina but rather a potential poison. Canceling the central bank and relying solely on the US dollar means the government would have no its own monetary policy, would be unable to issue currency, and could not set interest rates, as those would be determined by the Federal Reserve. In the event of a disaster striking, without the central bank's role as a lender of last resort, it becomes easier to default on debts. Additionally, all borrowing activities would be subject to US legal oversight during such a crisis, putting the government in a disadvantageous position during any restructuring negotiations. Regardless of who wins in Argentina's presidential election this December, the new government will face this challenging situation. It's uncertain whether Argentina will indeed dollarize its economy, but the inability to repay debts remains a certainty. Okay, that's all for today. See you next time.